Hey everyone, welcome in. Welcome to tonight's live. Today is April 28th, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, aka New York session time. We're going to start today by going over a couple of news. We're going to go over the entire calendar for the week. We're mostly focused on red folder news, right? So I usually suggest for beginners out there, red folder news, please try to avoid it as much as possible because volatility inside the red folder news itself could be a little bit scary when it comes to beginners, right? At that point, if you don't really have like a solid strategy and you don't have a solid win rate when it comes to trading actual news events, just stay out of it because at that point it's pretty much just gambling, right? Red folder days are good because it gives you nice increased volatility throughout the day, so that day is great, right? So pretty much what I would suggest is wait 30 minutes to an hour after the actual news event occurs and then see how price action reacts. And then try to get yourself a nice low entry, right? We want that volatility because we want that volume to drive that price action for us. So without further ado, let's get started with the news. Sunday, today, JPY, bank holiday. We shouldn't really see too much happening in the Asian session. Monday, tomorrow, New York session time. All day we have red folder Euro news. Be very careful when it comes to trading Euro pairs. We also have during the Asian session evening, CNY, red folder. Tuesday, what do we see for Tuesday? We see in the morning New York session, CAD and USD, both overlapping at 8:30 a.m. That's going to be pretty interesting, especially if you trade the CAD USD pair. It's going to be very interesting. We also have more USD that same day, following at 10 a.m. USD red folder news. NZD, which is the Kiwi, we have that in Asian session. Wednesday, we have red folder news for USD, 8:15 a.m. New York session. We also have two more times during the New York session at 9:45 a.m. and 10 a.m. Be very, very careful when it comes to Wednesday, actually, because you also have USD in the afternoon, FOMC at 2 p.m. in the afternoon of the New York session, followed by another one at 2:30. CAD pair at 4 p.m. during the New York session. Thursday, we see CHF during London Open. We see here USD again, 8:30 a.m. New York session, and also 8:45 a.m. CAD New York session. Friday, we're seeing USD 1, 2, 3. We have two different occurrences, 4 different news. We have it first at 8:30 a.m. New York session, and then 10 a.m. Silver Bullet session, New York session, USD. All right. Let's get on the charts. So my charts are a little bit messy. Let's go over here where it's a little bit more clear. I'm going to change this layout to 1. I'm going to start at weekly. I'm currently using the futures charts for NASDAQ to get the most accurate price action. Right, weekly looks bullish, as you can see there. Pretty clear indication, right? Higher highs, higher lows, continuation. Looks like right here, pull back, but then continuation is what we should be expecting. Let's go down to the daily. What does daily look like? Right? I did kind of predict this on one of the lives throughout the week during our live sessions, our live trading sessions. Price action, it's going to move up to here, this little area, slight retracement, but it's really seeking this over here, which is 18,010.25. Reason being is this is a daily fair value gap over here, 50% mark. As you can see right here, I do have some fibs drawn out. So the reason behind these fibs, I drew them on the daily time frame. That's going to be the retracement, and it does overlap with this fair value gap over here. So I'm expecting price action to come back, test this area out, and reject off it pretty violently. So that's what I'm really waiting for on the daily time frame. Besides that, does this even count? No. Yeah, actually. So on the daily, check this out. Daily, this fair value gap was formed on Tuesday, April 24th. This past week, left this fair value gap behind, and then price action came back, closed right above it. So this is a perfect continuation because the body of the candle did not close beyond the fair value gap. So this pretty much confirmed price action was going to continue upward. This is pretty crazy, right? Like seeing stuff like this in hindsight makes it look so easy. But when you're actually in the actual trade live, it's kind of hard to catch it, right? Because there's so many emotions at the play. But just trying to train your eye to see things like this in advance so you can try to catch those when it happens, right? Because if you would have seen this, once Wednesday closed, Thursday you were seeking an entry right there in that halfway point. But you always have to zoom out, right? Start your day, go into your daily, your 4 hour, sometimes 1 hour, right? So you do daily, 4 hour, 1 hour, and then your entries are based on 5 and 15 minutes. You would have caught that on Wednesday if you would just open up your charts on the daily and set your limit orders. Or you could also check the charts at like around midnight to see like what's really going on over here. Pretty cool, right? You could have caught that right there. So price action daily, the only thing we're looking at is this fair value gap over here. It's a daily fair value gap. That's the true fair value gap right there. 50% mark is actually 18055.75. That's what we want, guys. That's what we really want. Just put a little alert right there. Now you're gonna also see that there's a 4 hour inside the daily. So this is the 4 hour. That's it. That's this giant candle right over here, which price action needs to test out. But if you see right here, this is pretty much the same halfway point as the daily. It's just above the daily. So you have over here 18108.5. So price action should touch between here and here. We should see something in this area here. So that's what we should be aiming for. Let's highlight this little area here. We're going to color it red. So when price action gets to this area here, we want to be looking for shorts. I'm gonna lock that there. So set your alert, guys. We have one alert set over at 18055.75. We have another alert set at 18104.50. And we have this one that's going to be our confirmation. It's either going to bounce off it completely. This is a 0.62 on the optimal trade entry. This one's 18010.25. We're looking for price action to close above it or reject off it completely. So we have 3 different entries here, right? I repeat, 18010.25, 18055.75, and then I also have here 18104.50. We're looking for price action to test that out. Now, we also have this that's also part of our OTA fibs. It's pretty far up there, right? That's an extreme premium, but let's mark it out. We're going to set an alert on that one too. It's a very important level. That one's at 18244. Right? Those are the levels we're looking at. Those are the areas we're focusing in on. This is a 4 hour fair value gap here. Now, if we draw it out and get the 50% mark, let's see where you at. This was actually an entry that I was trying to get into on Friday, and I missed it by that tiny bit right there, which is just a few ticks, if not like a couple points. So I put my entry right here. Price action only went over here. Continuation to the upside. So it's close enough to this halfway point that I'm going to consider it mitigated. So that fair value gap is no good after that. All right. Let's see, we're using EZAlgo SMC. We're also using EZAlgo. Fair value gaps, touch, mitigation. Cool. I think price action is still going to do that. Tap up here, which it is tapping up here. Retracement. We have a fair value gap over here, guys. Look, so check this out. We have a 4 hour fair value gap right here. Let me get rid of this 50% mark. fair value gap right over here. This is a 4-hour time frame. This could be a really nasty low entry for us for continuation to the upside. Make sure to mark this. We're going to label it as well. 4-hour fair value gap, 50% mark. Set your alerts. I can probably even set a limit order because this might actually tap into this on like London session. Retrace, tap, and then continuation upwards. Because right now it's at a liquidity zone. This is a buy side liquidity zone. So I'm gonna actually place a limit order. This is not a signal. You guys are free to do whatever you like with this. I'm just gonna do this because I like the way price action is moving. I'm gonna go very, very small too. I'm only gonna risk like $200 on this trade. I can do 3. I'll leave that as is. Fair value gap over here. Remember, set your alerts 17824.25. We should see some price action, reclaim it, retest it, excuse me, and then continuation to the upside. This could move actually really, really well. Gonna leave that right there. Looks pretty good. So yeah, guys, we just identified the weekly price action, right? The bias. We're still bullish on weekly, daily, and then on the lower time frames, you should be seeing some kind of pullback and then continuation to the upside. So it either pulls back into this area here, taps us in for the 4-hour fair value gap, and then it goes up, or it just leaves it behind. Either way, no harm, no foul, right? So we should be trading with the trend. We're trading with the trend as bullish positions, and then that's a bullish entry there on this bullish fair value gap. And then what else do we have down here? This has already been tapped into and mitigated. Yeah, that's pretty much it here for Nas. We're gonna move on to the next pair. Next pair we're looking at is going to be gold. Charts that I'm using are futures charts. You guys use what your broker has. If you don't have a chart for your broker, try to get as close as possible. There are a couple of different brokers to choose from on TradingView when it comes to that. But since I am trading futures now, I'm switching over from Forex. I'm using all my futures charts straight from the futures exchange. So what do we see here on the weekly? Weekly price action is bullish, higher time frames, bullish, right? Higher highs, higher lows, some beautiful fair value gaps that are being left over as well. This right here is not a fair value gap. I don't know why it's marked as 1, which I thought was pretty weird. That's odd. This is a fair value gap over here though. This has not been tapped into and mitigated because it has not tapped into the 50% mark. I'm gonna mark this out. We're gonna set an alert on this one. We're gonna label this. This is a weekly. Weekly fair value gap 50% mark. Let's lock it. Set your alerts. Halfway point 22.90. What are we doing when price action comes into that area? We're going to look for confirmations on a lower time frame, whether it be 5 or 15 minutes. We're looking for bullish positions, bullish entry, bullish price action, right? We also have over here as well. Says it's a fair value gap. I'm not going to count it because I don't like the way the price action looks. There's a wick that tests this area here. For me, if the wick already tested this area, then it's not a fair value gap anymore. It's already been tested and mitigated. Here, we have another one that has not been tested and mitigated. This one's really, really solid. And if price action breaks through this, closes underneath here, then we should be looking for a bloodbath. So keep an eye on that, guys. We're going to label this weekly for value gap 50% mark. Yeah, that's what we see on the weekly. This is the closest to the price action at the moment. Let's check it out on the daily. Daily looks like it might fall back a little bit again. Tap into this weekly fair value gap and then continuation to the upside. We have this fair value gap over here. That's a daily fair value gap. Let's mark that out as well. Price action could actually just wick into that and then come right back up. Remember, because this is a weekly up here, this is going to be a daily down here. Daily fair value gap 50% mark. So on a weekly time frame, you're going to see probably most likely a wick that breaks through this area here, goes straight into here, and then wicks right back up on a weekly, and then continuation to the upside to get more all-time highs out of gold, just like it's been getting all-time highs out of pretty much everything in the market, which is fantastic, right? It's always good to see that happen. We have that daily fair value gap there. And now let's go into the 4 hour. What do we see on the 4 hour? Since we are looking for bullish positions, bullish entries, you can see here on EZAlgo, it's provided us the golden pocket over here as a re-entry. But we've already tapped into this area and it's been mitigated. So for me, that area is no longer good for a re-entry. We're going to wait for price action to develop a little bit further. We have a market structure shift here. So it's bearish fair value gap. Price action might actually just go and tap into here and then go all the way back down into the weekly fair value gap. So we're going to mark this, right? This could be a very important level for us. If you're scalping on lower time frames, you're going to see some nice low price action here too. We're going to color this red. We're going to label this as well. This is a 4 hour fair value gap 50%. All right. What else do we have for 4 hour? That's close to our price action. Not really much of anything. You have this over here, tapped into it beautifully. Then we have this one too, tapped in, mitigated. Yeah, that's the closest fair value gap we have to the price action. This one's already been tapped into and mitigated. Check that out, right? Tapped into it at the halfway point, and look how price action reacted. Like the candles, both the candles closed right below the 50% mark. As long as the candles close below the fair value gap, so it could close exactly here, right, at 2365, and then just close there, not advance any further, and that's still a valid fair value gap. If it closes above it, that means it's been mitigated and it's no longer good. Here, closed at this halfway point twice, and then it was price action started moving bearish. It's already been tapped into, so this is mitigated. So in theory, like nothing should hold any price action back anymore in this area. This liquidity has already been tapped into. The next is going to be up here. So if price action, which it looks like it most likely will because of the size of this wick over here and the fact that it's sitting at this order block here on the 4 hour, price action should go up into this 4 hour fair value gap, and then we should be seeing this reject. Now on the 4 hour, it might actually wick into this area here. Reason being is that you have an order block here too. So that's an overlap here of confluences. You have 4 hour fair value gap 50% mark, and then you also have this order block here. So it could be a wick, one candle wick that taps into here, rejects, closes underneath this 50%, and then rejection down into the weekly fair value gap, and then it forms a bullish position upwards, right? So that's what we're looking for this week to see how price action develops. This is a 4 hour candle. We're on the 4 hour time frame. This could develop during like the New York session, right? About 12 hours. We're gonna get 3 candles. It could be 3 fat juicy candles, or it could develop over the next 2-3 days. We'll see, right? Depends how the week goes. This week is going to be pretty volatile when it comes to news. So we could probably even see that whole candle form on one day. Kind of like how this candle formed over here, right? Massive candle. That was this is 1 4-hour candle. That is enough to take us here and into the order block over here as well. Now we went over the weekly, the daily, and the 4-hour. We've identified our points of interest. Make sure to set your alerts as well. I did not set my alert for this one, which I'm doing it right now. 2385.6. Set an alert on that. Let's move on to the next pair. Remember, guys, I'm using futures. If you guys want me to go over any Forex pairs, please type it into the chat. And then I'll bring up some Forex pairs once I'm done with these USD pairs, right? Because these aren't futures. So even though this is like Euro, GBP, JPY, it's traded against the USD. So think of this as kind of like the Forex pairs: Euro USD, GBP USD, JPY USD. Go to Euro. On the weekly, it's kind of like in a range, right? As you can see right there. So this couldn't pop up to here and just like zigzag until it loses momentum. Right now it is losing momentum. See at these highs, high, 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 and then this should form another high that's a little bit lower. The trend line should be a little bit bearish. For bearish positions. Right? Or something like that. The color yellow, make it a little bit easier to see. And I just changed the text color like a dummy instead of the line. Oopsies. That's going to be our trend line right there. And then also the golden pocket here on EZAlgo. You see it's automatically drawn. It has automatically drawn, excuse me, right over here, which pretty much overlaps with the trend line, right? It's like within a few ticks, a few pips. It's very close. So bearish, right? Bearish price action, bearish market structures, lower highs. Daily, it's even more clear. On the daily too, check this out. You have a bearish fair value gap right over here. This could be a really nice entry for you guys. The Euro USD, we're looking at this area over here. This looks really good. You have a confluence of the golden pocket here as well from EZAlgo, and it's in the trend line. Save that. This could actually tap into tomorrow. Probably 2-3 days. But it really depends on the price action. If we get massive candles like these, right? That'll tap into tomorrow. But we gotta wait. Price action is very volatile this week. A lot of red folder news. Could go in one candle, in one daily candle, just like this. This massive daily candle here is all we need to get into here. Set your alerts on this fair value gap. This is going to be our point of entry. 1.08325. That's what we're looking at. We're also going to label it daily fair value gap 50% mark. Let's check out the 4-hour, see if it overlaps, and it does. Overlaps right over the halfway point. This is a solid area for us to enter short. 3 different confluences. Golden pocket overlaps with the fair value gap on the daily, and then the 4-hour fair value gap overlaps with the daily fair value gap. Those are your 3 different confluences right there. Now, if you're looking at price action itself is actually moving in a bearish position, so we're looking for bearish orders, right? Bearish order flow. Pretty clear. I mean, there's nothing really else that we can pick from. Fair value gap here, tapped into mitigated. Pretty awesome, right? Check that out, right? Because we base it off the fair value gap 50% mark. Look at that. That's the 50% mark. And then if you go left, what's the going left do? It tapped into it, right? You can pretty much count this one too because it's so close. But here, like on the 50% mark, you see, boom, tapped into it the first time. Didn't really fill it all completely. Tapped into it a second time over here with the 2 candles and then continuation to the downside. That would have been a nasty entry, right? And this was done at 6 in the morning and 10 in the morning. These 4-hour levels are really insane. But the fact that this 4-hour level here, this fair value gap overlaps this daily, is even more insane. GBP. We're moving on to GBP USD. Let's check you out on the weekly. Weekly looks like the opposite, right? Dumped. Hit this area here. Wow. That was an all-time low. Hits all-time low. And now it's moving its way up. We have a fair value gap here, which doesn't really look like a fair value gap. Maybe my indicator's a little off. We're gonna make this fair value gap over here. So we're gonna be watching. We're gonna color you blue because it's bullish. Label it. Weekly fair value gap 50%. Get some caps. Watching this for a while. But just know this is a nice entry point for you guys. Let you learn on that. Alert on this. Remember, GBP USD. We're looking at 1.17.63. 1.1763. This is on futures chart. So if you're looking at Forex brokers, they are going to vary. So it really depends on your broker's chart. But just remember, draw your fair value gap area there. Set your alerts on that. That's going to be an extremely important level for us. What else do we see? We see up here. Tapped into this 50% mark of the fair value gap, and then it got rejected off it completely. This is on a weekly. Now price action wants to retest it back up here again. The golden pocket. If I draw my OTE fibs, this is what it looks like. It wants to go and retest that. But to me, since it's already tapped into, that's been mitigated. So that area for me is no longer any good. So what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for bullish positions, right? This is a higher low, and now it's a higher low again. Low, not really here. This is a higher low. Let's check it out on the daily. Any re-entries on the daily? And yes, we have two. We have one right over here on the fair value gap. This 50% mark. Check it. Go all the way to the right. Boom. Tapped into it. Almost to the exact pip. Right? And then the price action, second candle, taps into it as well. Look at that volume pushing it up. You got this fair value gap over here. It's beautiful. We're going to use it. Beautiful fair value gap. Not miss out on this one. And label you. Daily for value gap 50% mark. We're going to also set an alert. This alert's at 1.2413. This looks sick. I could probably set a limit order here too. Then we have this bearish fair value gap over here. This is a bearish daily fair value gap. Might even ping pong both of them, right? Ping pong, ping pong. We're going to color this one red. And we're going to label it as well. Color you red. We're looking for bearish positions there. So we're looking for price action to tap into this bullish. Tap into this bearish. Probably retrace back somewhere here. I guess hit this order block. And then go right back up. Or just break right through it. We'll see. We'll see how price action develops. 4 hour confirms There's a 4-hour fair value gap inside this daily fair value gap. And then there's also a 4-hour fair value gap inside this daily fair value gap as well. Both of them have two different confluences. Both of them have 4-hour fair value gaps inside the daily fair value gaps. This is going to be interesting to watch. Very, very interesting. But if price action retraces, I'm confident that it'll push it up above this. Tap into this bearish fair value gap and then retrace slightly and then continue upwards. We're going to see how price action plays out. And JPY is pretty much bleeding out. Sheesh. This isn't the weekly. JPY is just bleeding out. Two different fair value gaps over here. Let's try these OTE fibs. I want to see. They're pretty close. They're both pretty close to where the price action is right now. Set your alerts. First one's at 0.0066250. And the second one is at 0.0065565. Wow, that's a mouthful. Daily, what's daily look like? Daily is overlapping within the weekly. Honestly, I'd play it out more like this, right? Because I want it to be at an extreme premium. So if I draw my fibs from up here, these are the levels that I should be looking at. This is my preferred levels. So you see there's a fair value gap here in the daily. That should be my last entry point. And then this 0.705, that's like my most optimal point. So even though these are weeklies, on the weekly, it just has to wick through and then close underneath it as a weekly. So I definitely would love to send my alerts over here. On this one here, 0.0067630. And then on my 0.8 point, which is 0.0068135. These are on the dailies. Gonna lock in those fibs. And then the 4-hour confirms my 0.705, and then yeah, confirms that. Those are my confidences. No other real good price action around fair value gaps. Fair value gap here overlaps the daily, 0.705. So that's gonna be like my highest confluence right there, the 0.705 entry. Once again, that's 0.0067630. Yeah, that looks good. Let me see. Do you guys have a Forex pair that you'd like for me to go over? Type it into the Discord right now or the YouTube chat. Give you guys a couple seconds, and then we'll go over the Forex pair together. All right, looks like we are good for the evening. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this evening. I'll see you same time, same place next week, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the New York session. I hope you all have a wonderful and profitable trading week. Goodbye for now.